So Amanda Lorenz from Michigan State University, Department of Entomology is up next and will be presenting undergraduate partnerships in developing insect education resources for outreach at Michigan State University Bug House. She currently is an academic specialist in entomology at Michigan State University, where she teaches courses, advise the entomology undergraduate program, and coordinate the Bug House. She has earned her PhD in entomology in 2017 at Michigan State University, studying human attitudes towards insects, which continue to fascinate me fascinate her, but it fascinates me too, it is truth. I do a lot of human-animal interaction too, so we should talk. But anyway, it fascinates her in her work in both formal and informal education. As far as animals that she is looking forward to seeing, there are so many: tarantulas, cool beetles, and she'd really love to see a Gila monster. So welcome, Amanda.
So, hi everybody, I'm Amanda, I'm from MSU, and I'm excited to tell you about the work some of the work that I do with undergraduates through the Bug House. All right, so the Bug House is an entomological outreach center. We're located on MSU's main campus. We have 2 adjoining rooms in the Natural Science Building, and so we've got a collection of live and preserved specimens that we engage the MSU community and local community with through free open house events, as well as paid kind of private tour programs, which are what end up funding most of our activities. We engage undergraduate students in the Bug House in many different ways, and so undergraduates can serve as guides, delivering outreach presentations. They can also get into the Bug House through Bug Club, which is a student organization that meets every other week in the Bug House during the regular semester. There's several classes now, both from MSU and Lansing Community College, that will bring their students through the Bug House every semester. And then we're also a setting for students to do independent study projects in entomological outreach. So we do a lot with students. And working with undergraduates is really my favorite thing that I get to do. And so at MSU, my title is academic specialist, which is like totally a made-up title for people who do a whole collection of different things. It's just like a bin they lump us into. But what I do is, as was stated in the bio, I advise our undergraduate program. I also teach a couple of entomology and environmental science courses. I run the Bug House, and then I also serve as the advisor for Bug Club too. And this is a point in time that's really fun, or a point in these students' lives that's really fun to work with them, because it's all about growth. They're learning about what they like to do, they're learning about what they're excited about, they have lots of energy, they're developing their own authentic voice, and getting to work with them during this period is really awesome. Okay, so the project that I'm going to talk most about is one that was recently funded through the NSF. And so, like I said, we don't have a ton of funding sources, and so this was kind of a big deal when we got this grant. And so I collaborated with Dr. Henry Chung, who's an associate professor in our department. He works on Drosophila genetics and molecular stuff, which is not at all what I do. Which is really cool. So he wrote the main grant, I wrote the broader impact section, and in that section I wrote in a couple of projects that I'm going to talk about. We included funding to engage 2 undergraduate scholars each summer between 2022 and 2024, and those students will split their time evenly between the Bug House and then working in the Chung Lab, and so they get both science communication, outreach, and kind of like insect care experience, but then they also go on and get experience in molecular techniques, and they get to rear lines of transgenic flies and do kinds of cool research like that. So it's been a really fun project. I'm just going to run through the video series project and then the workshop project, which are the 2 Bug House things, and talk about how I work with the students to develop those materials. So the video series project, like my idea for this really came out of the pandemic, because we were caught kind of off guard with almost no online resources at all. And so I really wanted to rectify this and build up a kind of a repository of videos that people could watch, even if they couldn't come to the Bug House. And so for this, we did 2 videos each summer, so each student took charge of their own video. So they wrote the script, they produced it, they starred in it, they had control over almost every aspect of that video. We also included funding in this grant for the to work with the MSU video production team because we wanted the videos to look nice and professional and not like we cobbled them together. And then we're planning to disseminate these to the public via the Bug House's website and our YouTube channel. Okay, so I just wanted to run through the process of like, how do I work with a student to create an educational video? And these are pretty short. They're like 2 to 4 minutes. They're meant to be pretty short. But we start with always a brainstorm. And so I want this to be something that the students are excited about. And so I want them to have a topic that is interesting to them. And so they can choose any topic that's of interest to the public, that's entomologically based. And we start with a brainstorm. Sometimes I'll have them view some example videos that I think are good. Interesting. And then they will decide on specific goals of their video. And so what do they want their audience to know or be able to do by the time they finish watching this piece? And with keeping in mind that they're the narrator. And so I've got a little bit of a snippet of a student's brainstorm just to give you an example. And so really, I just want them to get some ideas on the page, so something we can start with to work with. There's a program called Milanote, which is really helpful for this process. It's kind of like a storyboarding thing, and it's pretty neat. Also free, which is great. All right, so when we write the script, so when you write a video script, essentially we distilled it into 3 columns in a table. You need your shot number, you need your what's going to be your audio, so the actual words of the script, and then you need what your visual is going to be. And so we did this very iteratively. I had the students write the first draft in this kind of a format. And then I went through and made some edits and some changes, and then they went through and resolved those edits and made some changes. And so we just kind of went back and forth until we had something that we were happy with, and or we ran out of time, which was an issue also. During this process, I think positive feedback is so important. I noticed that the more I encouraged the students during this process, the more creativity, the more I saw their own personality coming out in the videos, which I think is just awesome. So they're developing their voice. All right, filming the videos was really fun. Again, I think positive feedback and positive encouragement is really important, especially like during this video filming. Like it's kind of hard to be the star of the video, you know, it's a little self-conscious, like, and so practicing before filming day is really important, which we found out. And if possible, working with a pro is really, really great. And you can see we worked with Alyssa Bradley, who's pictured in a couple of these shots here. And so this is the last year of our project, and so we're finishing this up. We've had a whole variety of topics, everything from conservation of native pollinators to interviewing different entomologists who are doing different types of careers and exploring those careers. So a whole range of stuff. Some of these videos are already out, some of them are still in production, but they should all be coming out in the next 6 months or so. So the next project that I also worked on with these students on is delivering a workshop for teachers. And so this is a pretty simple workshop. It's just one day. It's primarily aimed at K-5 teachers. We called it Insects in the Classroom. And for these teachers, which we brought in the summer, we included an overview of arthropod biology. We included demonstrations and of handling and care of live insects. And then we also gave them free arthropod classroom pets and corresponding lessons to go with those classroom pets that were aligned with the next generation science standards, which are those curricular standards that teachers have to meet. So for this project, each student created their own lesson plan, as I mentioned, and so we started by targeting a specific grade range, and we were going through mostly K-5, but we also were thinking about how even if we design something that's, you know, for 5th graders, how might that be adapted for 3rd graders or 1st graders or something like that. So the students designed their lesson plan, but they also helped with the presentation of the workshop, and each did a demonstration of their lesson, and we've now done this 3 summers in a row. The development of these lesson plans was also followed an iterative approach, is very similar to how we wrote the video scripts. This time we started with the next generation science standards, which if you're not familiar with, there's a ton of stuff online, lots of resources. And they have a pretty good search tool where you can just kind of pick the grade and the major discipline, and so life sciences. And then there's lots of goals that you can kind of pick and choose from. And so I had my students each identify 1 or 2 of those goals and then design a lesson around it. And the goal here overall of this workshop is to empower teachers to include more entomology in their curricula. So one of the biggest things that I took out of this was that, like I said, it's a real privilege to be able to work with these students and be their mentor and support their growth and help foster their unique perspective and approach. And each student does really bring their own unique perspective and approach. They always think of stuff that I wouldn't have thought of. And so I'm always really excited to work with them. One thing I do try to watch out is sometimes it's easy to kind of over-edit students, especially if their tone doesn't necessarily match what yours would be or something like that. But I found that it was really important not to let my voice overshadow theirs. And I feel like the older I get, the easier it is for me to do that. And so it's really important to just give them the space for creativity and the space to take ownership of their projects, because if they take ownership of those projects, then they are engaged, they're excited, and the work is much better. Speaking of creativity and space for creativity, we've had a lot of artwork created as kind of another part of this project. And so I've had students make logos for the different insects in the classroom workshops. They've made stickers. And then our new Bug House logo was created by one of these students. All right, and then I'm just going to end on things that have been helpful. I don't know if I didn't know about this app before this, but Microsoft Lists is great for keeping track of tasks and assigning tasks to students. You can set it up however you want. And so I've got an example up here that's really tiny, tiny font, so really hard to see, but I'm happy to share these slides with anybody who wants them. These kinds of lists can help you to be very clear about expectations, which is also really important. Like, I find that sometimes I assume that they are on the same page as me, and they're not. And so the clearer that I can be, the better it goes. Keeping a shared calendar is really helpful with that as well. And then being mindful of other commitments that the students have. And so in my case, I'm splitting their time between the Bug House and the Chung Lab, and so I need to be mindful of commitments that they have to that lab space and make sure that things are going helpful. Okay, and with that, I will wrap it up. Thank you very much.